This is the #1 reason why your live stream might look like trash. White balance. I've reviewed thousands of live streams and it's the #1 thing that I constantly see mistakes happening with. So I thought in today's video, I would just dive into selecting what color temperature is best for your church. And then even more than that, my 3-step process for getting the best white balance that you can in your spaces. What's up, guys? My name is Ryland. I'm a worship and media arts pastor here at Central Baptist Owasso, and I love just sharing tips and tricks of things that I've learned along the way of 15 years of doing ministry here. And one of those things is nailing your white balance in your live stream. And we still don't do it perfectly, but let me give you my process for doing this. Now, if you're new to this, I don't want to assume that you know the Kelvin scale and what that means. So when I say warmer temperatures, we're talking about 3,200 or something lower. And then cooler temperatures are things like 6,500, more the bluish tones. And that's kind of your Kelvin temperature scale. All white light is not created equal. I'm sure you know this from just buying light bulbs for your house. But when we're lighting things for camera, things get even a little more complicated on choosing the right color temperature. So before we dive in, let's fix the biggest problem I see, and that is people leaving white balance on auto on their cameras. Do not pass go, do not collect $200 if your white balance is set to auto. So let's go ahead, grab your camera and change that to manual right away. So if all white light is not the same, what white color temperature is the best for your church? Let's answer a few questions to help you determine that. #1, does your space have any windows where daylight is going to be coming in? If so, you're going to want to match that to daylight. #2, what color are your house lights? If you don't have control of your house lights and they're all old incandescent 3,200 Kelvin temperature lights, you may want to lean more on the warmer side. #3, do you have an LED wall that is also on stage, because it is a lighting fixture in and of itself? And most LED walls are going to look their best closer to around 6,500, 6,000, whatever that native color temperature is, so that way colors look correct to the naked eye. And then the last question that I would ask is, what color temperature are your key lights? Key lights being the lights that are lighting people on stage. That is what your cameras need to be set to. So in this instance, I'm going to assume that you can't change any of those things and that you just need to get your cameras set the best that you can. All right, let's go through the 3-step process for nailing your white balance. Step #1 is set up your scene. You're going to turn just your key lights on to your stage and set up a testing disc or color chart on stage that is lit at about face level with where your pastor would normally stand on stage. So don't have colored lights on, don't have effect lights on, wash lights on. That could kind of tint the results. So once you've got that set up and in place, let's get your camera out. A tool that is really handy for nailing your white balance and checking colors is the Color Checker Video Passport. I'll link to this in the description. It's really small, but it comes in really handy for situations like this. Moving on to step #2, capture your scene. There's 3 ways that I'm going to talk about that you can do in this video today. There's maybe others out there, but the first one would be the easiest, and that is just to utilize your camera's built-in white balance capture mode. When you're in the white balance settings, whether it's Canon, Panasonic, I'm sure Sony and others, they're all going to give you the ability to fill the screen with a white or gray, 18% gray card and take a picture to capture the white balance. And that will get you essentially a good white balance based on that photo capture. And that is saved then into the camera that you can recall. Now, the downside to doing this is that if you have multiple camera angles, you're going to have to do that each time with the cameras, take them off the tripods, get them close enough to fill the frame. And each camera might not actually choose the same thing, so your cameras still aren't really going to match. But it is a quick and dirty way to grab white balance. Now, let's move on to the second option, which would be to use some type of meter to actually read and see what the color temperature of this scene is. Now, you can go really rudimentary, like iPhone app. I'll recommend this app that I've used with some success. I mean, to get a rough idea, you literally just point it at the subject and it will give you a basic idea of what the white balance is. Option number 2 is a light meter like Opal. Opal is cool because it connects to your phone via an app, and then it has a sensor that's going to read the light, not only to tell you the exposure, but also to tell you the white balance. So I'll link to the Opal Light Master. I've used this with a lot of success to do a bunch of different calibrations and light testing along the way as I've made videos here on YouTube and even just set up our live stream for church. The pro level would be going to something like a Sakonic light meter, and I'll link to one of those as well. If you want to get real spendy with it, those are pretty awesome as well. Step number 3 involves using your camera, but in photo mode. What I like to do is set up that smart color checker card in the scene and then actually take a raw photo of it with my camera. Since I'm using mirrorless cameras here that are capable of photo and video, I can do that in my instance. Now, you may not be able to do that if you're using PTZs or, cinema cameras or something like that. But for my Panasonic S5 IIs, GH5s, I just snap a picture and then take that raw file into Lightroom, and then I can eyedrop directly on those gray card areas and determine the exact white balance that I need to set manually in my cameras. So once you've gotten that exact Kelvin temperature setting, you're going to go into your camera and go into the Kelvin white balance setting and then just dial it in to that exact setting. Now for us in this room, my key lights are some bolder variable white lights, and with all of the diodes on, warm and cool, it comes out right around 4500, and so we have chosen a white balance right there at 4500. Now that makes our LED wall not quite perfect when it comes to color representation on camera because it's closer to 6500, but it really is pretty close. No one in the live stream is going to notice. Skin tones are way more important than the way the colors look on the LED wall. But in our new space, everything's going to be moving to that daylight 5600 because the new key lights that we have in there are going to be 5600. So the key to all this is, what is your key light's Kelvin temperature? The ones lighting me right now are daylight balance 5600. So my white balance for the camera is set to daylight 5600. But let's go ahead and change these variable temperature lights to 3200 and see how it affects the environment. My skin tones should stay the same because I'll set the camera to 3200 as well. Okay, now we're at 3200 on my key lights and 3200 on my white balance. I typically don't like the way that LEDs render 3200 and the warmer tones. It seems like it's kind of struggling to, it's like a fake orange to me. It's not really that incandescent, nice, warm thing that we're used to. Maybe if you have old Source 4 Juniors or things like that. So, but you can still achieve white for your camera. It's just now in person I look super orange. And then what did it do to my surroundings? Let's flip between this 3200 and then 5600. This is what it looks like now. So in conclusion, take the time to dial in your white balance. Don't leave it to auto, no matter what camera system you're using, and it'll immediately make your live stream look better. Sometimes we don't need new stuff. We just need to use the stuff we have correctly to begin with. All right, I'll leave those links to those products that I use in the description. And remember, at the end of the day, guys, we can do a lot of great things. Let's do it all for God's glory. We'll see you in the next one.